Hi and welcome to the broadcast. Today is the month of May. It's also the festival of Beltane. What is Beltane? It's one of the four main Gaelic seasonal festivals, along with Shemain, Imbolc and Lungnasta. Historically, it was observed in Ireland, Scotland and the Isle of Man. However, with now neo-paganism and the advent of Wicca, it is celebrated throughout Europe and England. What happens at these festivals? Well, rituals are performed to protect cattle, people and crops, and to encourage spiritual growth. How is this done? Done by including lighting bonfires, decorating homes with mayflowers, making May bushes and visiting holy wells. The Beltane celebrations often involve copious amounts of drinking, feasting and dancing around the maypoles, and offering to the Eossi or the fairies. Interestingly, it's also where the name Robin comes from, or Robin's son. It was given to children who were born illegitimately in the time of May. So if your name is Robin or Robin's son, then you have a very coloured past. There is still May dancing in England. I know I've never seen it in Europe, but then again I've not spent that much time in Europe. The Beltane celebrations apparently declined in the 20th century within the UK and possibly Europe. I find this quite strange because the 20th century still had quite a lot of connections with the early 19th century, where there was the New Age and the spiritualism. But anyway, the festival continued to be observed by the Irish, the Scottish and the Manx people, as well as Celtic neo-pagans and Wiccans, as I've already mentioned. Beltane is the day where the gates between the higher realms and our world open. Magicians, namely, use this day to communicate with the Jinn. However, if you are part of the Luciferian, this day is most sacred as well. Well, let's talk about Lucifer. Now, there's a lot of conjecture over Lucifer. However, to find the true meaning of something, we have to look at the history. I don't know if you know this, but Lucifer is known as Hillel, Hillel. In Hebrew, the name Hillel is associated with the figure commonly known as Lucifer, which means the shining one or light bringer. The word Hillel is the original term used in the Bible, while Lucifer is the Latin translation of this word. Both names refer to the same being, representing the fallen angel, associated with the various titles such as Satan, the devil, the morning star, the son of dawn, the child of God. However, it's not that simple. In Revelation 22:16, Jesus unmistakably identifies himself as the morning star, which is another name for Lucifer. Beltane is especially powerful to work with the family of Iblis and also Lucifer's minions, who followed him into the rebellion. According to magical lore, these great families can help a practitioner attain or learn how to protect themselves and others from the works of the Dragon of Revelation. I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to be in the dark, you're going to use beings of light. The Jinn people will usually communicate to the summoner via telepathy, unless they meet you in a dream or on the astral. Well, you may be thinking, that doesn't sound right. Well, let's look at the other way that you can summon a Jinn. In the tale of Aladdin from 1001 Nights, it's where we actually get the term genie from, which is derived from the word Jinn, but essentially the 1001 Nights was in French, and when they translated Jinn, it became Genet. But it still refers to a supernatural being with shape-shifting ability and immense power. But what does the popular genie light symbolize? Yeah, remember in the books and the film, it's an old lamp. Well, essentially, if we look at it philosophically, it's the power of the unseen. This lamp is often associated with the phrase, "Your wish is my command." Now, this is really interesting because I actually think it's a misquote, because the saying that the Arab magicians used to say, "Abracadabra, what I think I create," which is a completely different take on the subject. However, if we look beyond the fairy tale, the genie lamp also represents hope, dreams, power, and controls over one life and manifestation. If you like, the law of attraction. Interestingly, Kaf translates to head or skull. So what does rubbing the lamp mean to release the genie? Well, it can be seen as a metaphor for taking control of one's destiny. The genie of the lamp represents the subconscious mind, and rubbing the lamp signifies prayer or meditation, or if you wish, a deep desire for change. The genie in the lamp embodies the idea of breaking free from the social expectations and embracing the true desires and passions, serving as a symbol for self-expression and enduring magic. And it's also, if you like, the human imagination. However, I did do a video on this, and it's far more complicated than this few words that I'm giving lip service to. The story of Aladdin is very symbolic. It does tell you how to summon a Jinn. If you want to learn how to summon a Jinn using the Aladdin's method, I do have a video telling you how to do that. However, let's have a look at realistically the blueprint for all Jinn summoning. In the Quran it says, when God summoned the genies to Solomon, the angel Gabriel made the following proclamation: Jinns, Satan, Shaitan answer the call of Suleiman, son of David. They came from the mountains, caves, deserts, saying, here we are, here we are. The angels drove them forward like a shepherd drives his flock, until they were gathered before the king in obedience and submission. Now it's quite obvious from this text that to control Jinn, one needs powerful angels. That's all I'm going to mention at the moment. Before Solomon was over 24,000 categories of Jinn. In the Quran it says there were black ones, red ones, speckled ones, white ones, yellow ones, green ones, coming in size and shape of every animal. Some had a lion's head on an elephant's body, others had a trunk and a tail, yet others had horns and hooves. So for those of you who think there are 11 Jinn or 7 Jinn or 4 Jinn, the Quran states there's at least 126 types of Jinn. So what are the Jinn are they referring to? Well, according to the Quran, creatures of smokeless fire. They are invisible mythological beings in the Islamic culture, and they are really soaked into the Arabian folklore. However, a Jinn is a creature that can shapeshift, and it possesses immense magical power. The Jinn are considered created the same as human, but they have their world, and it's different from humans. They also have free will. However, they don't have a soul. So that's the only, if you like, difference in reality between Jinn and human, is human has a soul, a Jinn does not. These invisible creatures in early pre-Islamic Arabia and later the Islamic culture have always been capable of being good or evil. Also, if you read the early texts or you read the Quran, the Jinn have many forms and ability. So they are composed of subtle bodies capable of shape-shifting, favouring forms like snakes, scorpions, lizards, or humans, and can engage with humans to the extent of producing offspring. Now, interestingly, it was suggested that the Queen of Sheba was in fact half Jinn. Now, this is really interesting because she met with Solomon, allegedly fell in love, had a child, well, became pregnant, and then left him. I don't know if this is a metaphor, I don't know if this is a historical fact, but it's a very strange thing to write about, that she's madly in love, but she has a baby and then she clears off. It doesn't seem to make sense as to somebody being in love and wanting to spend their time with somebody. However, there are various types of jinn mentioned in different sources. According to Islamic belief, there are 11 types of jinn, each with different characteristics. I'm only going to mention a few because there's only a few that actually have any description. And these include Jinn, Ghoul, Marid, Ifrit, Shig, Nasnaz, Palis, Silat, and of course Shaitan. Additionally, the Ifrit is quite interesting. In the Quran, it's always described as the Ifrit of the Jinn. It seems by that phrase, they are among the Jinn, or of the Jinn, which indicates that the Ifrit is a type of powerful malicious spirit that belongs to a broader category of supernatural being known as Jinn. In Islamic mythology and folklore, Ifrit refers to a class of powerful, malevolent super beings. These beings are described as rebellious, strong, and often depicted as enormous winged creatures composed of smoke, living underground and frequenting ruins. The Ifrit society is structured along Arabic tribal lines, with kings, tribes, and clans. They are known to marry among themselves, but they can also marry humans. Ifrits are susceptible to magic. So generally speaking, when a magician is controlling a jinn, it's more likely to be an Ifrit. Unfortunately, dark magicians will enslave them. Hence, they are often portrayed as wicked and ruthless beings. But Ifrit can also be good. Obviously, you have to bear in mind, if you are captured by somebody, I don't think it's going to make you a good and nice person. But if we move on to the jinn, they are different to Ifrit. However, they still have the same qualities where they can take different forms such as dogs, snakes, etc., etc. But they hover around a lot of controversy because the jinn are part of the Arabic culture, but essentially it is seen as unwise. In fact, it's illegal in the Islam religion to contact these beings. But saying that, there are plenty of books written about them by Arabs. Now, in Islamic occult practices, there are 7 planets: the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. They are all associated with specific jinn kings. Now, those jinn kings go like this. Associated with the Sun is Al-Madhab, with the Moon, Al-Bayad, with Mars, Al-Harma, with Mercury, Burkan, with Jupiter, Sham-Hurash, with Venus, Zawabah, with Saturn, Mayum. These jinn kings or rulers are thought to influence the planets, and they can be invoked and summoned through specific rituals and spells and incarnations associated with the planets and their attributes, i.e. the colours, the days of the week, angels, etc. I must warn you, because summoning or invoking these Jinn kings is considered extremely dangerous, as there is a risk of possession or other malevolent consequences if not done properly. Really, only experienced individuals should attempt such invocation. The summoning of the Jinn kings is very old and is associated with the 7 planets and has its roots in pre-Islamic Mesopotamia and Babylonian traditions, which were later incorporated into Islamic occult and mystical practice. There is a strong connection between the 7 classical planets and specific Jinn kings and rulers all throughout Islam. This leaves us with something which is not a Jinn. However, it's probably the entity that contacts people the most, and this is the Qarin. It's also known as the spiritual double or the constant companion. It's a spiritual entity that accompanies every human being. As I've mentioned, it's not necessarily a Jinn, but a kind of a supernatural companion that can either be good or evil, depending on the individual's choice and actions. The Qarin is often associated with the Jinn. It's believed to be supernatural, it can shapeshift, possess immense powers. However, it is not a Jinn. In Islamic teaching, the Qarin is mentioned in several Quranic verses where it's described as a companion that can either be good or evil depending on your choice and action. However, the Qarin is seen as a spiritual entity that can influence a person's thoughts and actions. The nature of the Qarin is interpreted in different ways, with some believing it to be shaitan, where others see it as a spirit that can be either good or evil depending on the individual's choice. Another interpretation is that the Qarin refers to any type of spirit that accompanies humans, including both demons that cast evil and suggestions of angels that advise good deeds. The concept of a Qarin is not unique to Islam, and it appears in pre-Islamic literature. It is reminiscent to the Greek Daemon and the Christian guardian angel. In pre-Islamic Arabian mythology, the Qarin is supposed to inspire poets for their works. Thank you for listening. Live your life responsibly, and namaste.
Jinn Illuminated is a new book by Brian Barrott. It's the result of a lifetime study in occultism. Barrott has worked with adepts in India, Africa, and the Yemen. This book allows the reader access to the Jinn. Everything within its pages is authentic. This book has been reviewed by occultists such as J.S. Garrett, who believes it's one of the best books ever written on the subject of Jinn. It's also been reviewed by Sufi masters, namely German Quedo Myers, who believes this is a really good book. Moreover, Christine Hart, Sunday Times best-selling author, she writes, "This book is wonderful, a glorious read. It's not for nothing. Brian Barrett has been called the Jinn Master. If you want fame, if you want a better relationship, if you want spiritual awakening, Jinn Illuminated is available on Kindle."